and welcome to the New Property Show. I'm Steve McMenamin. On this show,
Joshua and Steve talk about finance. Our panel tackle the cost of living. But first, Michelle on the advantages of using a buyer's advocate.
Hi Michelle, and welcome to the New Property Show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks very much for having me, Steve.
Code Green, it says it in the name, says it in the colours of the clothes. What does it mean?
Code Green Advisory is my business and I'm a buyer's advocate, so I like to help people buy property. It's important to me to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to buy their own home. Whether it's a savvy investment or a first home buyer, I'm willing to help them secure their perfect house or investment.
Well, property's sort of really been in the blood for you, so even as a young girl, you're out in construction sites. What age were you when you built your first home?
I actually bought my first block of land at the age of 21. So I secured that block of land and was an owner builder. So it took me a while, but built everything from scratch except the bricks. And I built my dream home there, which gave me leverage to be able to build a property portfolio of my own. But my first home was 21. And then from then on, I just used that as a building block to build a property portfolio of my own.
And regularly now we see you at auctions on weekends, helping your clients purchase.
Yes.
But do you want to go back a step? What do clients really need to have in line prior to going out to, they can't just turn up at an auction and start buying houses. What are some of the fundamentals?
That's correct. Well, the best advice I can give is get a buyer's advocate like myself. But you really need to have your finance in order. So I actually say to my clients that the best time to buy is when you're ready. So when you're ready means, have you got your finances in order? Have you got a pre-approval? Have you used a mortgage broker? The network of people that you can create around you to secure that dream property is really important. So I would say, before you know your finances and your pre-approval, we don't know if you're, buying from Target or Louis Vuitton, if you're buying from a Kia, if you're buying a Kia car or a Merc. It's really important to make sure you know your brief and also make sure that you know your budget and how much you can afford to spend.
And how do you, help clients realise whether they're buying from Target or the Louis Vuitton? How do you do that?
Well, we capture the brief, so that's one of the first steps we do. We have an interview with someone. Me being really a personal person, I like to catch up with someone, have a coffee. Yeah. One of the major things is that I capture the brief of the person, so I dive really deep into what they really want. If it's a husband and wife, I like to interview them separately because I think that it's really important to get everyone on the same page, so know exactly what each person is wanting in a home or an investment, where they want to purchase, and then from there we just do a lot of research. It's really important to do price comparisons, and with my network of professionals, it's really important to know exactly who you're going to approach to find that perfect property.
Would you say your fee then is justified in terms of the saving and the time that you save people?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'll give you an example. Recently I had a brother and sister came here. They actually escaped a coup in their hometown. And they were professionals. One was a doctor and one was an engineer, and they really needed some help. And they said to me, Michelle, we really need to find a home. And I captured the brief and we put an offer in before auction, and we actually saved that person $40,000. So in terms of, we went to 3 auctions and they all went well over, probably 100,000 over, and we actually were able to put an offer in before auction, which was a bit tricky because there's a lot of auctions at the moment, but I hunted that agent down. I gave him a signed contract and I said, look, we're putting an offer in before auction, and we secured the property probably for a lot less than what we would have if we had have gone to auction.
In that case, and I actually think it's really good advice, but is there some people that just want the show? The auctioneer's all pumped up.
Yes.
They regardless.
That's correct. They really love the show.
Yeah,
I feel like the auctioneer loves the show and they will want to take that to auction because ultimately they get bigger commissions as well. So if you can put an offer in before auction, it's definitely a massive game changer.
Especially the exposure too, because brand being so important for the agents out there nowadays.
Yeah, and a lot of agents actually have a film crew. So I've been to auctions recently where there's been a film crew filming the actual auction. So it gives them a lot of publicity, and the auction's actually a big thing for a real estate agent.
So for you, do you want an auctioneer that's going to get the highest price or give you the best price?
Well, you never know on auction day. We
Yeah.
call Saturday the game day, the biggest day in the
Yeah.
real estate buyer's agent world. But I'd say it'd have to be the one that gives us the best price. But you never know how it's going to go. You might go thinking you're the only one bidding, and then you get there and there might be 3 or 4 other competition bidders, and you think, oh no, how's this going to go? So yeah, definitely the one that's going to give us the best price, but you never know how it's going to go on auction day.
And last thing with the conditioning of the clients here, very curious on this one.
Yeah.
If they said to you their budget was 1.2 million, and you feel you know you're going to get it at 1.2220, so you're going to go 20 over.
Yes.
How do you get the nod to find the extra? They've said, look, strictly beforehand. Our capacity is this, but it's a little bit more.
Yes.
What happens there?
Well, Friday's the day before auction. Most
Yeah.
auctions are on a Saturday. We actually sit down with the client and we get exactly their highest bid.
Yeah.
And I say, if you could go any more, can we just let me know? I need
Yeah.
to know your maximum bid, and we will not pay 1 cent more. And then if they want to come on the day, I can stand next to them and give them a bit of a nudge. But
Yeah.
we actually get them to sign a contract, an auction bid form the day before, and we've already organised. We go well prepared to that auction, and we won't pay a cent more than what they can afford. So if they have a pre-approval for 1.2 million and their bank won't lend them any more, we never want to pay any more than we have to. So we always make sure we get that auction bidding form signed the night before. We are very confident going into the auction, and on auction day, we won't bid a cent more than the auction bidding arrangement we have with our clients, because that's so important. We don't want to put people into the deep end of being in too much financial debt that they can't pay back. That's just not what we would want to do.
Excellent. So if you were to add one more point to this conversation,
Yes.
what is it that you want to say to the viewers out there watching?
I'd like to say that when you're ready and you can afford it, buy property, because it's the best investment on earth. And I just really think it's such a great investment to buy property, secure that first home, use it as a stepping block to develop a property portfolio that can work for you. Positive cash flow. Do you want to retire at 40? Do you want to create more financial security for your family and your whatever you want to do? The sky's the limit. So buy that first property and leverage it to build your property portfolio, and you can't go wrong.
What a wonderful mindset. And really, as the colour represents, go, 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 go.
Go, go, go. That's right. Code green means go, go, go. Go green and buy that perfect property.
Fantastic. Been an excellent guest. We'll see you again on the New Property Show.
Thank you very much, Steve. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Guys, welcome to the New Property Show. Starting with you, Josh. So, mortgage broker.
Yep.
What did you do prior to being a mortgage broker?
8.5 years at ANZ, then took a couple of years out to do real estate in South Yarra. Got a pretty good all-round knowledge out of that, and then started up my business about 5.5 years ago and haven't looked back.
So a lot happening at the moment, but I guess what is really coming up for a lot of people is, I wouldn't say you guys, but I would say the banks offered something called fixed rates. They're now coming out of it.
Yep.
What's happening there? So massive jumps.
Yeah, a lot of people are starting to realise that the last few years have been really golden. Something we haven't seen in 125 years of banking in the country is rates around the 2%, even high ones. And now we're starting to see a lot of people's rates jumping to a minimum around 6%, and your average home loan, 500,000, sort of jumping from maybe 2,200 a month in repayments up to your sort of 3,600, 700 mark, which puts a lot of strain on family budgets. So having to talk to a lot of people just about understanding the shift, especially people that have only been in the market for probably the last 2 years. People that have been in the market 10 years have probably seen these cycles before, so the reality for them is a little easier to accept. So just giving people a lot of advice, and I think a lot of people want to see a silver bullet. Unfortunately, the best advice is just, if your fixed rate's coming to an end, work out what your repayments are going to be, start paying it from now, so there's less pain when you rip the Band-Aid off.
And what about refinancing too? So, so obviously you've accumulated some debt, but why are people refinancing? Obviously, I know it's a topic we want to talk about, but why would you refinance?
At the moment, to be honest, most of the major lenders that you want to be working with, probably there isn't too much advantage to refinancing at the moment. The cashbacks have all been taken away, and it's really started to stabilise that market. In terms of, ANZ throwing 4K, Bank of Queensland maybe 3, Commonwealth 2, it's all dried up. You've got ANZ with 2 and not many else offering too much more. But why refinance at the moment? I'm finding a lot of my clients maybe in the low doc space, whether I've set it up or someone else has, that's drifted quite a deal. So what we're trying to do is bring that back in line and maybe find some more suitable lenders that I've sort of come to terms with over the last 12 months.
To make it more sensible.
It weren't available maybe 2 to 3 years ago. So a lot of the time in the low doc space, there isn't as many options and it is quite hard to move, but been finding some clients have been saving up over a full % at the moment on what they were on.
So you're quite personable with your clients, you're building relationships. To catch them up with them after, do you take the phone call after hours?
Yeah, all the time. Monday to Thursday, I make myself available 9 till 9. Realistically, clients need me, I'm available, but I make no time on the weekends, given that the banks are shut. Make sure it's about family and having that balance. Otherwise, and the clients benefit from that too, because no one wants that stale, crusty old broker that's pushing himself to the nth degree. You need to have that balance, otherwise you're not on your A game when you're at work. To
be personal anyway, you to actually need to have that relationship with the client.
Yeah.
And you could also still work, but in a different way. You like a game of golf.
Yeah.
You like a barbecue, like a beer. So you actually can spend that time investing with your clients and getting personal with them.
Yeah.
And a lot of your business, from what I hear, is referrals. So I just say it's relationship based. And a lot better than what you're doing with real estate, where it's the other way around. Monday to Wednesday is fairly quiet, and Thursdays through to Sunday, your phone's ringing. So really it was my guess is a lifestyle change as well you moved?
Yeah, absolutely. It was wholly and solely that. So, and funny you mentioned relationship broking. That's pretty much how I describe myself to my clients. I'm not in it for one transaction. I don't want to write your home loan today, never hear from you again. I want to build a relationship and a foundation for the next 20 years. If you're looking for one and done, then maybe another broker's the right person. But
it's probably, probably where I hear that is you actually care about your clients and you don't want to let them go because you've invested that time and you genuinely want to see them get ahead. And that's obviously one of the reasons you're on the show today is I've heard about the relationships that you create with others and great feedback obviously from Steve as well, so it always gets you an extra point. So really want to just flip over to you, Steve, is how are you guys working together? So obviously you're doing predominantly a lot of asset finance. In your field at the moment with asset finance, are you dealing with bad credit? How do you deal with those sort of guys?
Yeah, so I mean, we at Speaking Finance, we do kind of the opposite of what Josh is doing. He deals with the property and we deal with everything else. So, and coming across that with the asset and equipment finance, there's a lot of people who have bad credit for any number of reasons. They could be have been forced to with the recent rate rises and just other things, and perhaps maybe they got made redundant or they had something go wrong in their lives and they had to go into hardship, or they fell behind on a couple of bills. And with comprehensive credit reporting being so on key at the moment, with credit files being updated and things like that, you're seeing people are falling behind, and previously they may not have been punished for that, but now they are, while before it would only be once a default was listed on the file. But now you're getting a situation where there's no defaults, but they're falling behind, and that score is being dragged down really aggressively. And they're people it's circumstantial. So when I talk about bad credit, I talk about the importance of painting a picture, right? Because when you're dealing with a pretty straight, clear-cut situation, I might have a couple of discussions with someone, I give them a quote, then they take the finance and they go. But with bad credit, there's so much more that we need to understand, and we need to ask the clients, and we probably have better relationships with people with bad credit.
And what number would that be? So I know there's a credit score system. It goes up to 1,000. It goes up to 1,200.
1,200. If I'm being honest, I've seen like one or two that are over 1,100. So it's basically an unreachable. It's kind of like the bell curve, right? It's an unreachable thing.
You've got to have a challenge.
But it's like the bell curve, right? Where most people are going to sit, and with premium scores are going to sit between kind of 800 to 1,000, and like 1050 is realistically the upper limit of that.
And what about a 400 starts to get into some dangerous territory, doesn't it?
Yeah. So anything south of 400, you're in a lot of trouble. But people will say, things like, oh no, I have a poor credit score at 600. Now, don't get me wrong, 600 is not something you celebrate about, but anything kind of north of 600 is generally going to get what you need.
600 will get your deal across the line.
Yeah, correct. Once you start dropping below 600, then you get in a bit of problem. But if people understand, and I may go a bit math heavy, but understand the exponential graph where it talks about if you're up at this kind of high 1,000 score or even the 900 score, extra hit or damage that's caused doesn't factor as much. But once you get to that 600,
Slides
one
down
extra
really
hit,
quick.
bang 50,
Yeah.
bang 50, and that's when you really start to get into the
So you're going
trouble.
under attack.
So
Yeah.
you kind of, when you're bad, you can be worse very quickly, but when you're good, you don't drop out of good very quickly.
And what other conversations are you having at Speaking Finance at the moment? What else is coming up with your clients?
Yeah, so we're always having those discussions, talking to people about the low doc
Yeah.
solutions. Now, for the people at home, the understanding is that low doc doesn't mean you provide me no documents and you put your name on a
I thought it was
napkin.
called No Doc.
Yeah, no, it's not quite no doc, but yeah, providing the basic details of your identification and certifying who you are, but
Yep.
it just means you're not required to provide financial documents, or maybe you're required to provide a lot less in the way of financial documents. So the standard is going to be last 2 years tax returns and financials, accountant prepared, right?
Yeah.
But then there are lenders that will allow us to either waive those entirely, or they may just provide a recent BAS or say 6 month bank statements. So there's different ways to move around those and different ways to achieve the same outcomes. But what we're before we were seeing you're either acceptable or you're not, we're now seeing a split where you're going, people with low doc are now almost being kind of punished a little bit because the rate is a little bit higher. Well, it's that discussion, and I'm having these discussions now every day where I'm asking people, have you actually got financials? Because they kind of got trained over a period of time, let's do low doc.
Yeah.
And I said, have you got your financials? I said, well, I do. And they said, well, what are the figures? And they'll say this. And I said, well, we can afford the loan on that. And we have more flexibility. We can go to
I
different
think it
lenders
just,
and better lenders.
just sounds good for them to say Low Doc.
Look, there's a certain degree of
Yeah.
no one, I mean, no crack on all accountants, but some people don't like dealing with their accountant. They might love what they do, but they hate having to deal with them because it's hard and it takes time and trying to get different documents. But if just a little bit of phone call, a little bit of email is going to save you 1 or 2% on your rate, or potentially even more, or give you access to a better product, then it's worth doing. So I'm having a lot more of these discussions to split those up a little bit.
Fantastic. So it'd be great to have you back to discuss credit files in more detail.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll speak to you soon.
No worries. Thanks for having us again.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's debate. Cost of living. I guess for some, maybe not too much. For others, you've been around for a while. And I'm really curious to hear personally, in the last 6 months, how it's actually personally affected you and those around you. So, yeah, off we go.
Well, I've seen a lot of financial stress around all elements of the cost of living: food, utilities, fuel, phone bills, the whole thing. Everything's gone up, and everything is more challenging than it was before.
No one can really escape it. Everything's gone up. I think when things weren't so expensive, you get sort of into a certain lifestyle, and then as things go up, you've got interest rates going up, and your food and your utilities bills. Something's got to give. So, and I don't think anyone's immune from that. Certainly, we've found it in our household. We've got 2 sort of older teenage kids, and as time goes by, they get more expensive as well. So, certainly, we've had to look at our budget as well as everyone else.
Have you guys changed your shopping habits at home as well? Are you shopping weekly, fortnightly, monthly? How do you buy?
We're pretty ad hoc, really, to tell you the truth. We probably don't do it in the smartest way. As 4 in the household, we don't always know who's going to be home for dinner, so it's kind of go out and buy for that night. We try to do a weekly shop and then sort of fill in during the week. So it's certainly not the smartest way, but it's certainly now when you get to the checkout, you actually notice a difference.
Especially when there's not as much and prices twice as much.
Yeah, absolutely. Trolleys certainly don't look full for hundreds of dollars.
What about you, Joey?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I think with us, in our spare time, we actually love to go out and eat out. At least probably shouldn't confess this, but 2 or 3 times a week. So when things go up and the price of everything's more expensive, you start rethinking. Do I need to go out 3 times? Maybe we'll just go out 1 time and really rein in on that. But look, in general, it's just these days you think twice. I think every time you purchase something. But yeah, for us, it's mainly how much food that we actually buy out as opposed to the necessities.
I think it's okay sometimes to go back to basics, like just sticking to a simple kebab rather than $100 steak. So.
And look, and the good thing about Melbourne is there's so many options.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go for always a premium. You can there's heaps of options. Especially all parts of Melbourne. Anywhere you go these days, you can get some real good feed. So yeah, 100%. If not, Uber. Maybe cut the Uber. Don't pay for that delivery.
And Erin, you're 22.
Yes.
Yes. So I guess cost of living for you is probably not something you're experiencing too much yet. But where are you feeling it at the moment?
I think kind of similar to Joey, going out to eat. That is one of the main things I do. Same thing, 2, 3, 4, sometimes more nights a week. So that's definitely where it hits the most. And then just general shopping, petrol, that's another big one. But other than that, it's not it doesn't hit me too hard.
And these days, like, everyone just wants things quick and easy and fast, and don't really want to put too much preparation. We want easy lifestyles. So if you look back in our parents' generation, they hardly ever ate out. In fact, it wasn't good to eat out. It was bad quality food, and it was always best to eat in. So maybe some cues from 40, 50 years ago is probably how we should be living.
I think too, though, but really we use the word cost of living, but it's really discipline is really what it is, because it's not the cost of living, it's the choices that we're making. So I think when you're talking about the convenience, you're paying for the time. So if you bring it back, so I think some of those real true costs, if you bring back the food consumption, because this seems like a luxury, is petrol. So petrol's really significantly gone up, I think at least 30%. So you're not getting very far at the moment. Public transport's getting a bit of a shake-up as well. But really we're also feeling it as utilities. Sure. For those people that are renting out properties or doing that, but you're getting it in your water and your gas, and those comparison websites aren't really working at the moment. Like, we've got where we live, we've got a facility, we actually don't have a choice. We're in an apartment complex where there's 600 other residents, and no matter how much you debate, you've actually got to pay that cost.
Sure.
So what about mum and dad? How are your parents or those a little bit older than you feeling it? What have you seen them sort of make their changes on?
Well, my parents...
They're not eating out as much as you?
Well, no. Father lives alone, so he's forced. It's actually a unique situation where he is retired but doesn't own a house. So he's in a rental space. Mm-hmm. So he'd be, we don't know exact numbers, but I'm assuming that he would be really reserving every penny. And I think for that demographic, the age factor, like maybe 65, 70 plus, if you haven't set yourself up, and super came in the 90s, I think, didn't it? If you haven't got super,
sure,
and there's that transition period in that generation, really I think might be struggling at the moment with the cost. And I'm not sure if there's enough from the government and in that space to help these people with say the pension. Like, that's really quite low. I think that'd be a struggle.
Do you feel that people are really in survival mode at the moment?
I think some are. I think we see it from some of our clients' perspective, who come to us in real hurt. Obviously talking to us about their interest rates, but there's so much more around that as we've discussed. And so some people are really hurting. And to Joey's point too, my mum and my grandmother live together, and they're both lucky enough to be self-funded retirees, but they have had to look through their budget again, and so something they haven't had to do for a while. So I think there's different varying degrees, and I think that as you were saying, Steve, people just have to make choices now, where it was for a while there wasn't as many choices you had to make. Now what we're finding is people are really benefiting from doing a budget. No one really wants to do it, but it's really important to do that, and then you can make those choices ahead of time. And I think that if people get that sort of control back, they can navigate this a lot better.
I think one of the biggest challenges was in the last 10 years interest rates have been next to nothing.
Sure.
So people have adapted this lifestyle of just spend, where they didn't realise how cheap it was. But now, what is it, Rory? 5.8 or something like that.
6%-ish,
6%. It's just have to rein in on. Look at what's the average mortgage is, like another $900 a month or something. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So.
And the bank's just taking out all the fat in your pocket, just to and they know that it's there, right? Because
I think overall though, Australia itself is getting quite expensive. I know a number of friends that are they're married or not married, or even they've relocated children, but they're moving to other countries. So I think it's it's okay to not conform and be in comfort. I actually find that people are looking for alternatives. So I know a number of friends that have moved over to Dubai. I think they're only paying 20 cents in the dollar now. So if anything,
Absolutely.
So there is alternatives, but I think it's forcing. I think life has never been better, but you've got an ability. You've got to really put those budgets in. What do you think in the next sort of 5 years, Dave, is going to happen? Do you think it's going to get worse? And where's it going to be?
I think that that it could get worse, but I'm hoping it doesn't get worse, because worse would push a lot more people closer and over the edge. But I think that one opportunity that people always have is to get their money in the right place to bring them more money. So my clients who bought investment properties, let's say in the last few years, they're still earning good money on them. So they're protected, they're buffered a little bit from the price hikes in other parts of their lives.
I guess I sit here as an investor myself, but I hear Erin spending $300-400 a week on food, and the education that I'd normally give a young person would be that $300 to $400 you could actually leverage against $1 million property. Obviously, seriously something to think about, because with the convenience of living at home, but if you move out, if you make those changes now, I think it's really important. What this program is designed for. Sometimes people aren't going to change. But if we can help educate the younger people to make better decisions, less kebabs for you, then we get some savings. Would be good. So from this topic, I just want to go around the table here. What's one thing that you think you would change, now having heard this, to improve your cost of living situation?
Not eat out so much.
Excellent. Rory?
That's been a common theme, absolutely. But I think that also, if people get used to, say as cost of living comes down and interest rates come down, use that as an opportunity to bank more. Don't automatically adjust your lifestyle again. I think that's a really important thing that can really set people up for the next 10, 20 years if they don't just change their lifestyle back again.
So that's one thing I don't really hear is the word saving. So save first, then spend later. It would be probably my thoughts on that. Yourself?
Yeah, I was going to actually say keep a buffer in your budget. So as a business owner, you always have a buffer, and the same as in the household, you should always have a couple of months up your sleeve for a rainy day. So yeah, I think about being prepared and having a buffer in your budget.
Any buffer, Erin?
I think definitely the whole eating out needs to be cut down a little bit. Maybe eat at home a few more nights a week, and yeah, just definitely focus on, rather than using that money, spending it on something else, put it into the savings instead.
Fantastic to get some thoughts from the viewers at some point as well. But guys, you've been an excellent panel. Thanks again for discussing the cost of living.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks very much.
That's all for this week, and thank you for joining us. If you want to see the full interviews, check out our website, thenewpropertyshow.tv. We'll see you again next week.